Hey everyone, welcome back again to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to talk a little bit about security, especially on the cloud. As you know, I showed you already in one of my previous videos, I actually created a Nextcloud instance online on Linode, and I'm running it right here. And I wanted to show you today a little bit about the security if you're running such a instances for yourself, because there are certain things that we need to take care of on the Nextcloud instance, but there are also some things that we need to take care on the server. So let's begin actually here on our Nextcloud instance. So here is my Nextcloud, and I've just customized it a little bit with a few add-ons here and a few apps. But the important things that we need to always check here in Nextcloud is to go to the username here and go to settings. Then go down to overview. And we have two things here that we need to always make sure that everything is okay. One is the security and setup warnings here. And we need to have always these all checks passed. And I would check this probably every couple of days just to make sure that everything is up and running correctly. And another thing that you can do, and I definitely recommend you to do, especially if you are new to Nextcloud, is to check this security scan, which will take you to the Nextcloud website, and you can enter your server address there, and it will check your installation and tell you actually how installation is performing in terms of security settings as well. So for example, if I click here and I can type in here my cloud instance, for example, and then click scan. You can see here we get rating A+, and if you scroll down here, you will see why. So it tells you about the hardenings, about the setup, and eventually some recommendation if there are some that Nextcloud recommends you to do on your installation. And then in the end, we have also a list of the grades, and you can see what they mean. So this is something that you can do to check up the health of your Nextcloud installation. So let me go back to my cloud. Now, the second thing that we want to check absolutely is to go to basic settings, and we need to check the background jobs. So these jobs are actually meant for the Nextcloud instance to perform always well. So normally what happens is that when you or another user logs into Nextcloud, this job is going to be loaded, and then it's going to basically take care of the Nextcloud performance and other settings as well. Now here, as it says on the top here, for optimal performance, it's important to configure background jobs correctly. For bigger instances, cron is the recommended settings. Please see the documentation. So usually when you install Nextcloud here, the Ajax option is going to be selected by default. Now the interesting thing here is that if we click on the eye, we are brought to the Nextcloud website here. And if we check here on the cron jobs, it says you can schedule cron jobs in three ways, using Ajax, WebCron, and cron. So the default method is set to Ajax. However, the recommended method is to use cron. So I don't know exactly what's the reason why this is not actually by default there, but this is how it is. And I definitely recommend you also to do it with cron, because you are not actually, if you're alone, especially on the cloud, you are not actually logging in that often, and then these jobs are basically not going to be run. So if you choose the cron method, it's going to be run automatically every 5 minutes. And what you need to do that, you basically need to choose the cron option there in Nextcloud, and then you need to perform just two steps basically. As a root user, you need to type in this command here, crontab-u data-e. So we have seen actually this command already when we talked about cron jobs, and what this is actually doing is running a cron job as a www-data user, which is the user for the Apache web server if you are on Ubuntu or Debian based distribution. If you are on CentOS or on a RHEL based distribution, then the user would be Apache, and if you are on Arch, this user will be HTTP. So you will have to change this accordingly. But once you type this in, you're going to open basically the cron tab, and in this cron tab you're going to paste in this command here. So this is basically going to tell the system to run every 5 minutes this cron job, which is running on the cron PHP file, which is under your Nextcloud installation. So you will have to change this accordingly if your Nextcloud installation is under another directory. For example, on my server is under www.html/nextcloud, so I had to change that. Then once you have done that, you can save the file and exit the editor. And the system is going to take care for you of this cron job every 5 minutes. And this is also how I set it up in my cloud. So I go back there, and you can see I set up here the cron job, and the last one was run now about 1 or 2 minutes ago. So these are the few things that you need to take care here in your Nextcloud installation. At least these are the main ones. Now, another thing that we need to check if you're using this on Linode or any other VPS, or you're running your own instance, is to check also some settings in your server. Now let me go here to my second workspace, and I have here already a terminal connected to the cloud. Now there are a couple of things here that we want to take care on the server. The first thing is to make sure that you have a service called fail to ban. Now, if you're installing Nextcloud on Linode, for example, using the market image, it should be actually pre-installed by default. But if not, you will have to install it yourself. Now, depending, of course, on your distribution, you will have to use a different package manager. If you are on Ubuntu or Debian, you will use apt. If you are on Arch, you will use Pacman. If you are on Fedora, RHEL, CentOS, you would use yum or DNF. But the package is the same. It's called fail to ban. So you can install it very easily. And once you've done that, you need to enable the service. It's a systemd service, so you will have to enable it with systemctl enable --now fail to ban.service, and then check the status by typing in systemctl status fail to ban.service. And you can see in my case, it's already up and running. Now, what this service is doing is going to ban IPs that are trying to reach your server using certain services, like, for example, SSH or also Nextcloud. Although for SSH, some things are active by default. For Nextcloud, you will need to create the configuration files yourself. So in my case, for example, I already created the Nextcloud configuration files, which you will find in the Nextcloud documentation. I will show you this in a second, and I will leave a link to it in the video description below so that you can basically copy and paste and just adjust a few things. But when you're installing this system, what we can do here, we can check what it creates in the system. So let me type in here cd/etc/fail to ban and hit enter. I'll type in ls-shell, and you can see it creates several configuration files. Now, the most important things in here are, one is the jail.conf, which is going to define the parameters for your configuration. Then we have jail.d, which is a snapping directory for other services like Nextcloud. And then we have jail local, which is going to take care mostly of stuff like SSH. Now, let's have a look at jail.conf. So let me type in here vim jail.conf. I'm not going to use sudo because I'm not actually writing anything in there, but I just wanted to show you this file. So here you can see we have the defaults. So the defaults basically define the various parameters for banning certain things in the system. So for example, the ban time is set to 10 minutes. This is by default, but you can change this to any value that you want. The find time, the max retry, the max matches, and so on. So these are basically just basic parameters for the service. Now, the next thing is the jail.local file. So let me type in here vim jail.local. And as you can see here, we have also the same things. So you can set here ignore IP if you want to ignore certain IPs, for example. Again, you have some find time and max retry parameters, and also the backend, which is systemd in my case. And then you have here the SSHD service. Now, this is basically going to tell the system the parameters to check for SSH connections. So this is very simple, but I'm going to show you afterwards what it does. And we can exit this file. Now, the next one is the snapping directory. So let's go in there, cd jail.d, and I'll clean up the terminal and type in ls-shell here. And as you can see, I have here two configuration files. One is the nextcloud.local, which I created, and you will find it also on the Nextcloud documentation. I will leave a link to it in the video description below. But let me type in here vim and then nextcloud.local. And you can see here what it does. So it basically creates the configuration needed for the fail to ban service for your Nextcloud installation. And the only thing that you will need to adjust here is the log path to your log. In some installation, this is going to be a little different. So you'll have to search that up and paste it in here. So let me actually show you one thing here. Let me go back to the home directory, and we can actually check the status for this service, for example, for SSH connections by typing in sudo fail to ban dash client, and then status SSHD. Now, don't get scared here. I need to enter my sudo password and hit enter. And so you can see here what we have. So let me make this a little bit smaller. These are all IP addresses that have been blocked by the system. So you can see I have a total of 1046 IP banned on the server, basically. You know, this is how the fail to ban service actually works. So it really tries to block as much as possible based on the parameters that you define in your system. So you need to make sure to have this service installed because it's a very good security measure. Of course, the next very good security measure is, of course, the firewall. So whether you use UFW as a firewall or you use Firewall D, just make sure that it's active and that you open the ports or the services that you need. Now, another thing that I cannot really stress enough here is to also make sure that you have secure passwords on your servers. This is extremely important and it's something that it tends to be overlooked, but if you're running a cloud instance facing the internet, it's extremely important that you have secure passwords. Now, there are several ways to generate secure passwords on Linux, and I'm going to show you here just two methods which are coming pre-installed in the installation. Whether you're using Debian or Ubuntu or Fedora or Arch, they are going to be installed by default. There are also some other packages on the repositories that you can install to generate more passwords, but these two should be actually enough. And I would definitely recommend you to put a limit to yourself about how you should create passwords and until when they should be valid in your system. For that, there is a login def file in the system that you can find under the etc directory. So if I type in here cd/etc and hit enter here, and let me type in here vim and then login.defs and hit enter. And we need to scroll down here basically on the file until we find the parameters. This should be toward the end of the file. There you go here. So these are some of the ones that you should change. So for example, this maximum days 999999. No, this is a no-go. I would definitely change this to 60, maximum 60 days, and then the system will tell you 7 days before you need to change your password. Otherwise, you will not be able to log into your system. And there is also a setting somewhere in here also for the minimum length of the password. Now I can't remember what it is, but if you look for it, you will find it. And that's also something that you can set. For example, minimum 6 characters or 7 characters. Then once you have done that, there are two commands that you can use to generate very good passwords here in Linux. One is the OpenSSL command, and the other one is the Gpg command. So there are two different methods, but they are basically generating secure passwords. So you could actually type in, for example, OpenSSL rand-base 64 and then 14, for example, and hit enter. And you can see it's generating one password. So you could basically copy this password, make a password for yourself on your user here or on the root user as well. And then every 60 days, 7 days before, you get a warning on the servers that you need to change your password, and then you can create a new one. So this is one way. The second way is to use the Gpg command. So you could type in Gpg and then --gen, then -random, and then --armor -1-14, for example. And as you can see here, it creates the GNU-PG directory and the kbx key in there as well with the password. And you could copy this and set it to your root password or your user password as well. And again, every 60 days and then 7 days before, you're going to be asked to change the passwords. It's something that requires a little bit self-discipline, and you need to maintain like this your server. But that's the point, if you're running a cloud instance yourself on the internet, you need to take care of those things. And of course, you need to make sure that your server is always up to date with the packages, especially if you're running a LTS version of any server. Make sure that the packages are up to date because they contain also the latest security patches. So important to do that as well as a step. Now, these are the basic settings that I would definitely recommend you to check if you have a Nextcloud instance running for yourself on the internet. These are basic settings. We could go on and explore more of these. And if you have other suggestions, also post them in the comments below for the community. It might be important also for other people to know what also you are doing on your servers. And if you have any question about the video, let me know also in the comments below. As you know, I'm trying always to answer you as soon as I can. And if you want to support my work, guys, you can do so by becoming a Patreon. As you probably already know, I'm doing live webinars on Patreon now every month when we are focusing about one topic about Linux, or you can also donate via PayPal through the website as well. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate that, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.